Everybody, drop your buffs.
Drop your buffs.
Everybody, drop your buffs.
Drop your buffs.
Everybody, drop your buffs.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Drop Your Buffs podcast, where we recap the strategy, social game, and stupidity of each Survivor episode. I am sorry that I made that so extra, but I missed last week, and I feel like I need to pump up the energy for this episode.
Yes, I encourage the extraness. Absolutely. Welcome back. We missed you, myself,
thank you.
and the audience. Thank you for returning. And I hope you had a wonderful vacation.
I did. It was so great hanging out with some of our Survivor friends. Shout out to Brendan for filling in for me. I listened to your guys' podcast while I was driving home, and it was so great. I was texting Djon the things that were sticking out to me from the podcast, like, oh my goodness, I've never thought about this that way before. And like the idea of when your torch gets snuffed, just turning around and like revealing all the information and all the secrets and all the alliances. Like, I'm so going to do that. Like, that is amazing. Yeah. I wonder if it has been done before and they've just edited it out. But anyways, I want to do it someday.
Yes, all three of us. Let's just, whoever gets on first, like, just start the chain and we'll all follow suit.
I'm just like too nice though, so it would be me trying so hard, trying really hard to be ruthless. Like, you guys.
Yeah, no, I can see myself turning around and being like, all right, guys, I'm just gonna take a moment.
You would do it in that voice.
And just go one by one. And just be like, I love you all. However, like, you're like at the end of it,
you're a rat, you're a snake,
I could just see myself, if it was our survival challenge, I'd be like, and Hannah, you tell me every time we're still good, right? But like, that's all you say to me, so I know we're not good. So if anybody else is hearing Hannah say that we're good, you're not good.
You're not
all right,
good.
That's it. Bye.
All right, bye. And I would just be sitting there with like that shocked face.
I don't know if you'd be sitting there with the shock face or the Hannah smile that you always had at Tribal Council when you were getting called out.
One.
You're like...
Okay, well, it feels good to laugh about this stuff because the world is ending as we know it and everything sucks.
Apparently. And like literally for the last 2 days in Los Angeles, it's just been raining and it does feel like the end of times. So it's kind of nice to be able to like have this like happy little bubble of ours, not to ignore what's going on in the rest of the world, but just to be able to like find happiness and joy in something that we all find happiness and joy in, because we need that right now.
Yeah. You know who's not experiencing too much happiness and joy are the players who were supposed to play season 41 of Survivor. There has been a couple articles circulating about how season 41 taping has been postponed till
which I assume means the same for season 42, because they both have to be pushed back at this point.
Yeah, because casting is over for both of them. And so that's postponed. And man, I feel so bad for those players. They just got cast onto Survivor and they have to wait even longer.
Well, I believe that production like left it to like the last moment to call it, just I guess in hopes of like being able to go ahead with it. But we even know that like a week or so ago, it was announced that The Amazing Race had canceled mid-season. They'd already filmed 3 legs of the race and then they sent everyone home. And that's kind of an even more interesting perspective, because obviously The Amazing Race, they're spending a lot of time at airports. They're spending a lot of time
all over the world
countries. Right. And I think at the time we didn't necessarily realize the gravity of the situation.
No, I thought that they were being like overcautious. I was like, oh, come on. But now I'm like, oh, great.
Right. So, but my whole, like, obviously we understand the reality of the situation when it comes to the virus itself, but my brain, in terms of the game structure of these shows, I go to like, all right, well, now you're sending home, you know, we can assume like 7 or 8 teams of 2 where they'll have access to the internet. They can communicate with one another. Like, will we ever see that season finish? And if we do, will it become part of the season? Yeah. Right. Like, will they say, we had to postpone filming, and now that we're back, we have had no option other than to allow our contestants to live their lives and be able
Right.
to discover each other on social media. So this season will be influenced by the outside world.
So a game like Survivor or Big Brother, like, heck no, this could never happen, like stopping mid-season. But, you know,
Right.
Amazing Race, sometimes they've started implementing kind of a vote thing going on. But besides that, it's pretty much your own game. And
Yeah.
maybe I think the implication is the people who didn't really prepare for Amazing Race are going to go home and now they're going to do even more preparations than they had
if
done.
they can.
I know. So thinking about the survivors
Preparation, yeah.
who are getting ready for 41, now they have even more time to prepare. Do you see anything different they would do besides what they were already doing to prepare?
I mean, I think
time?
that my kind of preparation would be like, not because of fear of, you know, like I would quarantine myself in fear of not being able to go out when the opportunity actually happens.
I see what you mean. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's just kind of like, they could
High
call me
alert.
any day and say, exactly. So it's just kind of like, all right, friends and family, you already think that I'm somewhere else. So I'm no longer in the real world.
I've
now I'm in a bubble.
Yeah.
And I'd probably just watch series of Survivor and repeat.
Yeah. Just like make a big booklet of all the things you should know. So I wanted to talk about, you know, kind of more on this topic of before we played Survival Challenge, because we talk about Survival Challenge all the time and we will not stop talking about it because, you know, we can't.
That's our game, yeah.
Before we played, do you remember the feeling leading up to before we played? Like the anticipation, the nerves? Like I was so nervous, the stress. I mean, like not super stressed, but I was just like, every once in a while, I would just get worked up thinking about going out to play. And I just feel so bad for these survivors who now like have to do even like 3 more months of that.
Well, the funny thing for me is when it came to Survival Challenge, I think I was distracted a majority of the time because my focus was, will I actually be able to like financially be able to get out there? Like
you had a different stress.
Right. Like my stress was actually getting there. So it didn't really dawn on me until I was sitting at a pizza place in Macomb waiting to meet people. And it's like torrential downpour in the middle of nowhere. And I'm sitting in this pizza shop going, am I going to be sleeping outside? And that's when it started dawning on me.
Right.
And then I arrived to the location and asked to use the bathroom. And they were like, well, no. And I was like, wait a second. Like, it's just like a little, it was like, it was those little moments that was just kind of like,
this is really happening.
like those moments happened to me on the day, not necessarily in the lead up. But that's because I also knew people that were involved with production just because I was a fan of the show and had met them prior to it. So for me, it was just kind of like familiar. But when you're going out to the real thing, it's not familiar. So I can only imagine how stressful. You're going to a new country. You're going to be surrounded by people you have no idea who they are. And, you know, in this situation, it's like, all right, well, now that I've canceled work and I've canceled all my plans.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm just here now. That could be a bit of a problem. But then again, everyone's canceled work because work is canceled.
Oh, I know. Yeah. So
right.
Work is already done. I hate to laugh about it because I've known some people who've lost jobs. So
I know it's terrible. But at the same time, like, I feel like as a majority, we're all in a very similar situation where we're all being a little caught off guard.
Yeah, like, and dreams have been, I want to say crushed, but that sounds so dramatic. But
Dreams have been postponed.
I had to cancel a trip to New York City where I was going to see you. I was going to go to Rob Has a Podcast live show for the first time ever. And
who knows if I'll even be getting there. And mine wasn't necessarily just, I wasn't going for the podcast. I was attempting to move. So
you were attempting to move there.
Yeah, move to New York. That might be postponed for a little bit. We'll see what happens. There's still time between now and then. And I guess it's just a waiting game at this point. So just time to sit and relax. And in the meantime, we're going to enjoy a season of Survivor and then question whether the finale is actually going to be taking place when the finale takes place and if it's going to be live or if they're going to get all the contestants on a group Skype call and do it online.
I wouldn't hate it. But it would be hard. Yeah, it would be hard. It'd be funny, but it would definitely be something we don't want to happen.
Well,
So
that's
wherever
like
you are, wherever you're listening or watching this, whoever's listening, like, we wish you the best. We hope you're happy, healthy,
Yes,
and that
yes.
everything is working out for you.
And unlike on Survivor, please wash your hands. Yes.
All right, Djon.
That's probably why they couldn't put them out there. There's no
I know,
detergent.
because you can't wash your hands.
Can't wash your hands.
I didn't wash my hands in Survival Challenge.
Yeah, good times. Good.
All right,
times.
let's jump into where the episode jumped into DeKalb Beach with Nick telling us that he feels good about voting out Tyson, and Tyson gave him a fire token.
Oh, well, I mean, if your hero can pull through at any time, this is the time for them to pull through.
Who is your survivor hero?
That would probably be Suri. I think I would have said Suri or Sandra, and just because Sandra has played so many times, and I feel like Suri is I don't know, I've got a bond with Suri just because we were both the couch potatoes that people kind of think otherwise of, and you know, I think we've got a very similar banter and wit and humor, and I don't know, just watching her out there is very endearing for me. So I would say that Suri is my survivor hero. How about you? Who's your survivor hero?
Would you vote her out?
Oh yeah.
Love it.
Because she would vote me out. That would be my justification. She wouldn't hesitate to vote me out.
Yeah. I have so many survivor heroes. I feel like my original survivor hero was Stephanie LaGrossa, like strong female warrior. So that would be my, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she's out here. Okay, so so Nick feels
Stephanie.
good. I know. And then we go to the clip about Yul talking about Jonathan Penner and his wife Stacy, who has ALS.
Yes.
Wow, what a moment.
The description of ALS, because you know, we were given a lot of like little examples, but if you go to like Wikipedia, it says it is amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, which can also be known as motor neuron disease. Which is probably
and it's also Lou Gehrig's disease too.
Yes, Lou Gehrig's disease. But I've definitely heard of motor neuron disease. It does go on to say that motor neuron disease is used for a group of conditions which ALS is most common. So it's kind of all in a very similar bracket. But I hadn't heard of ALS. I had heard of motor neuron disease, and some people have heard of Lou Gehrig's. But it's obviously something where you lose the ability of it states here like voluntary muscles, like you lose the ability to use those muscles. And as Yul was saying, I think she's only got control of her eyes now. And then we did get to see a clip of Jonathan Penner and his wife.
That was so great of CBS to do that.
Very touching. Yeah. And it's kind of nice to see that, you know, this is a game, and like we've talked about it even like last season, like it's a game that allows us to talk about real life things.
Right.
And, you know, brings all that kind of stuff in. And, you know, we saw footage of her coming to the game to see Jonathan Penner in one of his previous seasons. And it's like we as an audience have seen the shift of where you can come from to where you can go. And we've experienced that as an audience firsthand. So I think it was a little more you know, it was right there in front of us. So it's a lot easier to kind of like relate to something when you can see it firsthand. Yeah.
And in kind of the game mindset, we've talked about how Yul at the beginning of the game told in pre-game interviews how he wants to donate his winnings to Jonathan Penner and ALS research. And I was wondering how that would happen if he would talk about that in the game in a sense to like if he told people in the game, he might think that would make people want to keep. Well, like I was thinking, like, is he going to tell people thinking that they'll want him to stay in the game? But also, if he tells people, he'll be like, people will be like, I don't want you to be in here because you're going to be the hero that wins.
The first thing that came to mind when you said that is, I believe it was Big Brother season 16.
Okay.
When Frankie Grande, was that 16?
Yeah, he was on 16. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Ariana Grande's brother.
Yeah, he was wanting to donate his winnings, and Zach found out about this and had this blow up.
He was
he was like in tears. He's like,
Oh,
how
yeah.
am I going to win when there's this guy in here who's going to donate his money?
He was
blah, blah, blah.
so upset.
He lost it. So we've seen it actually affect people in a game having a certain opinion about a player. Yeah,
I also have
it sounds
experienced that because when I did Dayton's Dash for Cash, which was for $10,000, there was a team that said that they were going to donate all their winnings to the food bank. And like, yeah, that's awesome. If they win, amazing. But I'm also like, oh, look at you thinking you're better than the rest of us.
do-gooders trying to help people. But I mean, it really does influence, like, when you think about, you know, what you're doing it for, where the money's going towards. It's like, does that mean that they're more entitled to this, or that they're like, it really does play on how people perceive each other based on how other people are going to perceive them.
Yeah, I'm glad he didn't mention that part of his story. I just think that wouldn't help him if he told people he was going to donate. But when he makes it to Final Tribal and he says it, like, all right, Yul, that might do the trick right there.
I mean, a very similar thing happened with Adam in his season. You know, he didn't really talk about
Jeremy
his
in his
health.
season, and Jeremy and his pregnant wife. So we've seen they gotta have that sob story at the end.
Yep.
All right, next up, Dion, was our favorite thing,
and that is
drop your buffs.
I was like, maybe if I start it, she'll like catch up, and then like,
what if Jeff said it like that? Jeff says it the same. What if he had like a trumpet? Drop your buffs.
I just feel like it's like on Drag Race when RuPaul is like, bring back my girls. And she says it different every time. I would just love to see Jeff Probst be like, now drop your buffs. You know, something really dramatic like
Jeff
that.
Probst is nothing but, he's just consistent. He's going to do the same thing the same way every time. He loves it, and we're here for it every time.
Here for it.
So Boston Rob talks about how much he hates swaps because his first season, Marquesas, which was season 4,
yes. Correct.
he got swapped and it didn't work out for him because he got voted out. I really do not remember anything else besides the fact that they swapped and he got voted out. Do you have any more info about that? Anything we should take away from that story?
Well, my memories of Boston Rob in that season are pretty slim. He was a very polarizing character. He was very opinionated. I remember him calling out John in that season and calling him out, being like, are you gay? Like, that was Boston Rob.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Boston Rob was the kind of person to like push all the buttons, and John was
Boston
like,
Rob pushing all the buttons? Huh, that's interesting.
But it's really interesting because, like,
kidding,
if a
for those who
person
don't know.
Well, but like if a person did that in like current seasons, be it what we've seen happen in recent seasons of Survivor, like that would not have gone down well. But then we also saw Rudy in season 1 talking about Richard Hatch, you know, and being like, you know, I like him, but not in a gay way, which at the time was really funny. So for me, it's like Boston Rob is associated with this kind of like punk young dude who's just kind of like trying to like,
a big
push
personality
and all that.
Yeah.
Right. And he talks about how he was in control of his tribe. I don't remember it being the case. All I know is that 3 people from each tribe ended up on the other tribes where they were at the bottom of the numbers. They ended up coming together at the merge and they ended up taking it to the end. And Boston Rob, I think, might have been tied to the people that went to the other tribe.
Yep.
Because I feel like he was maybe aligned with Sean. That kind of rings a bell. And then Sean ended up working with like Vecepia to get to the end. So I can see how that would have kind of like done him in. But yeah, I just think that he's played enough games to know that a tribe swap's coming and he should be better prepared.
Yep. I personally, I don't like the swap into 3 little tribes. I like the bigger.
Survivor CBS loves it.
Loves it. And it just feels so weird to swap into that tiny group. And man, I mean, it's fine. I loved the dynamics that we saw on each tribe. But I love the big tribes where people can hide and that numbers can be more flexible than just 3 and 2.
Well, let's talk about the numbers side of it. A swap into 3 tribes guarantees that there will be a majority because it's an odd number. So if you split it into 3 tribes at 18, you're going to end up with 3 tribes of 6. There's the potential of it being a tied side, 3 on one side, 3 on the other side. Where it was 5, you don't run the risk of having a tie at tribal council.
Right.
It's too early in the game for people to kind of do that. So I think in terms of like numbers, they're trying to look at how they can force moves without actively forcing it. So what we saw was 3 tribes get split up. It didn't turn out the way that I said it could turn out last week, where I was like, maybe they'll end up with 4 Decal on one tribe with 1 Saleh, and then the other 2 tribes will have a majority of Saleh members.
Yeah.
It didn't work out that way. It worked out where Decal was in the majority in 2 of the tribes and was in the minority of 1 tribe, and somehow both of those members ended up surviving the vote. So you never know what is going to happen, honestly.
Yeah. Do you want to kind of talk about what we saw from each tribe? When we
really do need to talk about that dynamics in these tribes because they are so freaking juicy.
Yeah, so before they get to the immunity challenge, we spend a little bit of time on each camp. So the new Decal has Jeremy, Tony, Denise, Sandra, Kim. Jeremy has a confessional that I had to ask my mom what this meant. Jeremy says that him and Denise are like George and Wheezy moving on up. And I was like, Mom, what the heck does this mean? Dion, do you know what this means?
I thought of Harry Potter. It's like George Weasley?
Oh, George and Weasley.
George. I'm like, is he trying to make like a Harry Potter thing and it didn't work out for him? Like, that's literally where my brain went, and I'm still kind of stuck there. And now I just think of like Jeremy being a huge Harry Potter fan who just called everybody by the wrong names.
I am dying right now. That'd be the most like insane reference of George Weasley during Survivor. Okay, but it's from a TV show, The Jeffersons, which I had never seen.
Okay.
And George would call his wife Wheezy, and they moved up in the world to a nicer apartment, and so that moving on up, that's what it's from. So good job.
Okay.
I love Jeremy's confessionals. He's hysterical.
Even if you don't understand them.
Yeah, even if I don't get the reference.
He just can talk and you can just listen and he'll just speak and you'll just love it.
Yep, in that accent. Okay, so let's talk about Kim in the predicament of, I have my opinion of who she should work with between Tony and Sarah and Jeremy and Denise.
But I do want to just take note that we actually got to see Kim this episode because there's been a couple episodes.
It's been a minute. We thought that she was just what's the phrase? Dead to rights? Is that the phrase?
I don't know. I thought it was George Weasley.
We thought she was a goner. She's still here. She's still George and Weasley moving on up.
She's catching eels. What is it with the women this season? Just catching all of the sea creatures, like all the sea creatures,
because they're amazing. Did you see that tweet?
I'm totally
about all the women have. We've got
I wanted to bring that
all
up.
the advantages
because I put it in our story. I put it in the Drop Your Buff story.
So we've got Parv and Natalie with 4 fire tokens each. Like what?
Correct.
We've got 4 girls with idols. We got Sandra, Sophie, Denise, and Kim, and then Sarah with the steal a vote. Like. This is what Angelina wanted, and it finally is happening.
Right. Okay, but let's just think about this. If Decal goes to Tribal Council and Jeremy catches wind that Idol's going to be played because there are 3 idols on 1 tribe, then Jeremy leaves Tribal Council. Denise feels vulnerable. Denise plays her idol.
Yeah.
We now know that Kim has a fully formed idol because Sophie gave her the piece back. Kim feels vulnerable. Kim uses her idol. Sandra goes, well, I'm not going home. She plays her idol. There's only one person you can vote for. Tony.
He would get Sareed.
He would get Sareed. Wow. It would be the second time in history that he would get Sareed.
I would hate that. I would hate that so much.
But here's the thing. I thought that at the last Tribal Council in this episode, we would see advantages get played. And
we
none
didn't.
of them got played.
Oh,
I
so
was
scared.
shocked.
If someone, I don't even care who gets Sareed. If someone gets Sareed again, I will be so mad. I hated that so much. That is not okay
Just
with
the
me.
logistics of it. It's not only like there was a Sareed vote, and then there was the Game Changers vote with Keith and Kimmy, and it's just like I think this is what the smaller tribal councils run the risk of. People having their hands forced. And I think they're trying to implement that so it's less of they're in charge of the game and more that the game takes control of them. You know?
Mm-hmm. True. So
anyway.
who do you think Kim should work with?
Oh, I think she should work with the other side. I think she should work with Denise and Jeremy.
Whereas I think she should work with Tony and Sandra.
Really? Why?
Yes. Okay, so here is what I think. Kim Spradlin is a huge threat. Huge threat. Sorry, did I say that she's a huge threat?
So she needs to keep huge threats near her.
Needs to keep huge threats. Yes, she connects so much better with Jeremy and Denise, but no one is going to take them out before her. They're going to take her out before them.
I disagree.
I think that Tony and Sandra will get taken out before her, so she needs to align with the people who will get taken out before her.
I feel like Jeremy would get taken out before Kim.
He is so good, though. He is so good.
But then are you saying that Kim's not as good?
They're both amazing.
Right. This is the thing. I don't think, like, everybody talks about how some people in this game are bigger threats. Mm-hmm. I don't see it that clearly. I think everybody is threatening. And even Adam was saying that in one of his confessionals. Oh, no, it wasn't his confessional. It was at Tribal Council. He's like, everyone here is really good. Like, everyone here is really good. So, like, I think that if you talk about threat levels, you really have to think about in what capacity, because even though Kim is threatening in like challenges, her social game is flawed this season. She's at the bottom. She has nowhere to go. Mm-hmm. She can't control any move.
No one wants to work with her. Now Denise and Jeremy are like, oh yes, we want to work with you. We want to work with you because they need her to flip. So they're going to make her all of these promises, all these empty promises. And she's going to feel so comfortable and just way more naturally connected with them because those are the people she would work with. Whereas Tony and Sandra are like loose cannons and you don't want to work with them. But in my opinion, those are who you need to be willing to be in uncomfortable alliances in order to further yourself.
But okay, if you were on the island and you were in the position of Jeremy and Denise, there's 4 people, you are with Kim, Sandra, and Tony. Who do you want to keep around and who do you want to get rid of?
If I was out of those 3?
Yeah.
Kim, Sandra, or Tony? I would get rid of Tony.
I would get rid of Kim. I would keep Tony.
Wow. Because
Tony doesn't have any moves. Nobody's working with him. Like, Kim is a much more threatening player than Tony in my eyes. Yeah,
so I think that I would do it based on past performances and the fact that Tony can flip on a dime and Kim stayed loyal to an alliance. Yes, she was manipulating another alliance. But it's a new game,
Hannah. When you're in a position of struggle, you do things differently. We see people time and time again. Look at Stephanie LaGrosse's second game. She became a villain because she flipped so far from her original gameplay. She got to the end and people didn't vote for her to win. So my whole thing is you've got to look at the game in front of you. And you can't, yes, you need to take information from previous games in mind, but Kim is not playing with the same people she was playing with before. I almost feel like she would be more likely to be unpredictable because we haven't seen her in this environment. So this is the devil you don't know, where Tony is the devil you do know.
This has a ton to do with how I feel about the Boston Rob vote. Could we jump to Yara tribe to talk
absolutely.
about the Boston Rob. Okay, so we have the same situation going on right now with Ben and Adam,
Right.
Boston Rob, Sophie, and Sarah. Okay, so in my opinion, I think that Ben and Adam should have kept Boston Rob around because of the same reasoning I said about Kim, is that you keep that big threat in for as long as you want. And along with what you were talking about with how Stephanie LaGrossa made it to the end and everyone hated her, I feel like Boston Rob could have had that same exact character arc this season, that like maybe he would have pissed off enough people that by the end he wouldn't win. Like, I know you don't bring Boston Rob to the end because he could win, because he would argue his point really well, but I think he might have irked enough people that maybe he would lose votes. I also have another thought about how Boston Rob also messed up this round, which we all know, but I have another thought about that. But do you have anything to say about that thought I just had?
With the thought you had, I think that it's like definitely valid. It's my whole thing though is by keeping him in the game, you maintain his level of game, because everybody's trying to please him in his way that he wants to do his game. But I'm not out there to play anybody else's game. You know, so for me, the vote to get rid of him is actually to allow myself to thrive. So sure, you can find yourself sitting at the end with someone like him, but if you're not in his game plan, you don't get to the end. So I feel like taking him out was so that the rest of them in the tribe could literally start to play the game. So I feel like they needed to take him out.
Like, we talked about how Adam broke the cardinal rule of Survivor when he went and told someone the plan of who they were voting out, and everybody was talking about how he like broke the golden rule of Survivor. I feel like Boston Rob just broke the golden rule of Survivor by forcing no one to strategize. We saw Garrett in Survivor Cagayan force everybody to not talk, and it pissed off everybody, and that's why they voted him out. Like, I think we know that that's not what you do.
Well, I mean, not only do we know, but we've seen him do it firsthand. We know that this is his tactic. You can't just repeat something. It's like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So if they, let him do that, they're just sitting there going, oh, so we're all just going to sit here and let him get to the end and choose who he's going to take to the end with. No, you can't do that. But are there ways to make it work for you? Possibly. Maybe Ben and Adam could have found ways to make it work for them. But I think that, who knows, maybe this is the alliance that we see get to the end. You know, maybe we see, like, because that's the thing, Ben and Adam don't have anybody else to work with in the game. They don't have a solid core. Ben was close to Denise, Jeremy, who was close to Adam, but I don't even think was Ben even that close to Jeremy?
Yeah, like, he voted with them, but we haven't seen anything about them being close. Yeah.
All I can think of is Jeremy being like, if I walk away, I know that Ben's going to come to talk to me. He did mention that once, that time that they were all just sitting at camp and nobody was moving.
Right, and he's right, the standoff.
If I get up, Ben's going to come up, and then Denise would get up. But it didn't feel like they're like a us till the end kind of situation.
Right. I do want to elaborate on, why Boston Rob's Hail Mary to keep everyone at camp. Like, it was clearly a bad move, and it was clearly him trying to do anything to get himself to stay in the game. And I just want to elaborate on another reason why that was a bad move, is because in modern Survivor, we know that at first a plan gets made. And then about an hour later, the second plan is now in place, and that is going to happen. And then a couple hours later, there's a new plan, and this is actually what we're going to do. By Boston Rob stifling the strategy talk, I think that he could have played the hand of letting everybody go off and have talks, and he could have been having these talks with Sarah and Sophie and trying for him to get aligned with them, and he could have been giving arguments about why to keep him and whatnot, rather than
cause a little more confusion.
The plan could have easily evolved even more, but he made it stay at ground zero.
Because here's the thing, he could have even tried to spin the vote onto someone else, you know, say to the girls, look, if we actually do put these votes on Adam because he did screw me over, he's not the strongest in challenges. He will be an easy person for us to take out. Nobody else on the other tribes are going to be pissed off. Like, play up this whole thing about how, you know,
He
you keep
totally
me
could have
in.
got it on Adam.
But the thing is, it didn't necessarily actually have to be Adam. But get the girls to place their votes on someone else that's not him.
Yeah.
You know, like, you do need to kind of put precautions into place where you're protecting yourself. And I actually don't think he protected himself. He just kind of like went on a gamble.
Yeah, he went with what was the most comfortable for him, and that was being the godfather and telling people what to do and like just refraining stuff from happening when he could have taken the more you know,
taken well, that's the thing. And like, he's even mentioned it like in this episode. He's like, yeah, I found an idol, but I had 4 clues. You know, and like everybody else is out there finding idols. Sophie finds an idol, which is
loved it.
Epic.
In the middle of Boston Rob's confessional, like he's still talking and we see this happen. It was so good.
And that's the thing, because like she gets it, and we're like, wait, did she just get it? Like, you as an audience member have to like sit there and question it, and you're like,
you have to catch it because she put it in her underwear so fast.
She just threw it down there, and she was like, nobody's gonna be like, and that's the thing, they're like all emptying their pockets, and she's like trying not to like shove her hand down her pants, which I don't think she needs to anyway.
Right.
But I thought that was just iconic, because then that's when we find out that she gave the other piece to Kim.
Yep.
That's when we hear her perspective, where once upon a time she was like, if I were Kim, I would never have done that. And now she's like, oh, I get it. Like, you know, she's like, I'm in this predicament now. I understand. That,
I need someone.
Puts you in a position. And that's the thing. She admitted, she goes, I've never been able to get a read on Sarah, and I don't know if we're good, but this is the move to solidify us. So who knows if this changes Sophie's opinion of Kim.
Yeah.
You know, like, we might find the 3 women, Sophie, Sarah, Kim, getting to a merge situation and being like, look, we all know, maybe Kim can bring in Denise. They all know about these secret idols. There could be like an idol alliance if they get to the merge and none of them have played them. You know, like, there are so many things tying people together now, not to mention we've got fire tokens in play. We didn't see Edge of Extinction at all this episode, so we can assume that there wasn't any token being awarded to anybody in the game. On Edge of Extinction. And I think we can assume that production knows that when you form 3 tribes, you're going to have to explore their camp life. You're not going to have
probably planned it.
Extinction.
Same like, with Island of the Idols. That's what they did during last season too.
So now it looks like the next episode, we're going to get some kind of Edge of Extinction challenge portion that involves allowing Tyson and Boston Rob both to be involved. And then the following week, now that we know that next episode 2 people are getting voted out, there could be an extra 2 people. So the next 2 times we see the Edge of Extinction, there's going to be 2 new people coming into these new challenges or tasks.
Yeah.
And we're going to potentially end up with 8 people on the Edge of Extinction, maybe even 10. Like, I was talking to Steven, who was in Survival Challenge with us. Heroes versus Villains merged with 10 people. It started off with 20. They got it down to halfway through.
And Second Chances, oh my goodness, Second Chances merged with 13 people. After next week's episode where 2 people go home, we're going to have 13 people. They could merge just right after that.
What I'm saying is, like, right, because that's normal. That's standard for us to get to that many people. But they could even wait until there's half of the people out of the game.
Oh, I see what you mean. Like, that's even... See, I'm just used to, like, I just still think of, like, 7-person juries and everything, like the good old days where it was tiny.
Oh, really? Because, well, that's when we had 16 people in the game.
Yeah.
You've got an extra 4 people now.
So this is a random thought that I had about Yara Tribe that I wanted to talk to you about, is that
sure.
On my rewatch, I saw Ben and Sarah introduce themselves when they get to the island. Hi, I'm Ben. Hi, I'm Sarah. And that like took me back for a moment, and I was like, wait, I know they know each other. They were at Hearts of Reality in summer of 2018 when we were there, and they were sitting at the same table. And like, I'm sure they've met and they've talked.
Huh.
Adam was there too. And like, I don't know if that's like them pretending like they don't know each other, or is everybody out there just pretending they don't know each other?
That's
But like,
so interesting.
they have met. And they were, and we saw a clip of them saying, "Hi, I'm Ben. Hi, I'm Sarah."
Right.
What?
And okay, so that's interesting because like when they did that, I was like, huh, that's really interesting that they don't know each other. And I just put that to them not having played the game together. Because like
they
when
were
you're
there.
going out there,
They were like 3 people away from each other at Hearts of Reality.
sure, but like I also know that like a lot of your attention goes to the guests coming in. You're not necessarily going to have a sit down conversation. I mean, that was the time when I met Ben, and I went, he's actually really nice. Like, you know,
he's lovely.
And because I remember he was in the corner and she was only a couple chairs away, because I remember being like, you know, I was so excited to see you in the game again. So glad you won, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you're right. These people have interacted with one another. It's not like they've never met each other. They don't necessarily need to introduce themselves by their name. It might be like, hey, it's nice to actually finally be able to see you on the same tribe.
Right.
But maybe they are downplaying their relationships in form of how well they know one another. But the reality is they may not actually know each other that well at all.
Yeah, but you know, it's like if they're 3 people away from each other, I sure hope that they introduce themselves. Like that would be pretty crappy if they didn't. Well,
That's
you know what's
funny.
Sandra was sitting right by Sarah, so maybe Sandra is just being Sandra and being the queen of the table. And
I mean, Sandra got called out when she was like, "How do you feel about this tribe?" And then she's like, "Well, it means that we can vote people out that we want, but I don't want to say too much."
That was Sandra. Wow, that was
so awkward. Because then you've got Adam.
Something.
It goes over to Adam, and Adam's just like shaking his head, like, "Oh, this is going to be interesting."
Adam is all of us out there.
Adam he is very much he's going to be remembered for this season. You know, like he played his first season.
It's been the Adam show.
It's been the Adam, but it's also like, I don't remember firsthand too many of Adam's like moves in his first season.
Right.
You know, he was very much there and obviously got to the end and won. But like, I can even say like Michelle, like winning the last few challenges and getting rid of Neil from the jury. And like, you know, I can name, but I can't sit here and name like specific pivotal moments of Adam's game that allowed him to like win. But I can definitely mention moments from this game that relate to Adam. Like this is going to be what Adam's remembered for.
Yeah, I love it. It's only going up from here. Like this has been great. So let's talk about 2 more things. We need to talk about the new Sele tribe, and we should talk about the immunity challenge. So let's talk about X on the beach, Sele. What are you thinking?
No. Okay, so I also put up a post on our Instagram that Nick Wilson posted. Okay. And he's gone and changed all of the faces from the How I Met Your Mother poster and put his tribe's faces on it. And he pretty much talks about how, like, actually, let me read it to you because it's written and like nuanced quite delightfully, if you will. I'm just going to pull it up.
Nick Wilson isn't getting too much airtime, so he needs to get his attention elsewhere on the social media.
Well, here's what he says. He goes, coming to CBS this spring, 5 castaways stranded on Sele Island. But these castaways are no strangers. It will be legend, wait for it, dairy. What happens when a man is placed on a deserted island with his high school celebrity crush? How about when old rivals reunite after they have not spoken in 13 years? Does she still recall the time he declined to go skinny dipping in a hot tub?
I remember that.
And haven't you heard? 2 of these castaways previously dated. Find out what happens when exes are placed on the same beach Wednesdays at 8 p.m. 7 Central, only on CBS.
Good job, Nick.
I thought it was very funny, and I was like, well, that's quick-witted and just kind of like well played, because it really kind of sums up what we're experiencing on the Sele tribe.
Michelle's confessionals about what's going on, she owned the confessionals. I mean, Parvati's narration of it was hysterical. I felt like Parvati, like just laughing about what's going on. But Michelle's "You Up" new season Who Dis confessional was everything. That was everything. Michelle is just winning me over so much.
Well, it reminded me of the confessional she had on her first season.
The bro I know one.
Yeah, I know, bro. Like it was like,
bro, I know.
She's getting just like real, and I love Michelle getting real because you've got these three guys who are clearly in an alliance from their first tribe. Like the three of them were working together.
Yeah.
So that's going to be really hard to break. Yeah. And then you've got the two girls who are now connecting. Michelle's like, Parvati's my best friend. And I'm like, which is really interesting because we never really saw that dynamic when they were on their former tribe.
We could kind of read between the lines of what was going on, but they've really grown close.
Right. But it's funny because like, even like, spoiler to everyone at home, Hannah makes notes before every episode and sends them to me just to kind of give me a feel for what she wants to mention. But what you mentioned that really kind of got my attention was like, these are the two girls that you love to watch, but you would never be friends with them in real life.
I said, like, that's what I love watching them. And I love their dynamic, but see them sitting on the beach and like talking about Wendell or something. I just could not imagine myself in that conversation. Like, yeah, oh my gosh. No, they weren't really talking funny? Like that, but yeah.
I totally could see myself sitting with them. I was like, I'm very much a chameleon when it comes to that kind of thing. Like I can sit with the boys and just kind of like talk or whatever, stupid stuff. But then I'd go and sit on the beach and be like, all right, hit me up. What's going on? Like I could kick it with the girls is what I'm trying to say.
Just like Wendell said, you kick it.
Yeah, exactly. I'll kick it with the girls. But it's so funny because the girls even know how funny it sounds. And they're like, oh my gosh.
Exactly.
And
I don't want to like make fun of them. I don't want to say that they're like super basic. They're just not the type of girls that I would normally hang out with. So it's kind of fun to watch.
But it's funny because I think like there's a time and place for these things. Like there is a secret scene with the two of them as well where they go over to get water and they're just kind of giggling over the silliest things. And Michelle talks about how her hair's in tendrils.
Yeah.
And you see Parvati with like this perfect hair. I'm like, how?
Parvati's always perfect out there.
But it's so funny because they're just making themselves giggle over the smallest things. And I honestly think that a lot of the dynamics that happen when it comes to alliances and things like that are really bonded over humor and intellect and just being able to like just be on the same wavelength. And my question is, I thought that Parvati and Yul would have more of a rapport with one another than
that was surprising.
They do. Well, the thing
they haven't
is,
talked
Parvati
in years.
No, well, and Parvati's continued to stay in the world. So you'd think like as somebody who was in the, well, yeah, exactly. Like, and somebody who went on to win a future season, you'd think that maybe Yul would reach out and be like, congratulations. Obviously you were in my season. Because think about it. How many people in this season have played in a season together where the other person, how many people have played in an original season together where one person won and then they came back and won their own season? So Blood versus Water, Natalie won and then Jeremy came back and won. And then you've got Cook Islands where Yul won and then Parvati came back and won. And they were, all four of those people, like in their pairings, were playing for the first time together, but one of them had to come back and win. So someone like Tony and Sarah, they have that close. Kind of pairing. Right. But so that's why I'm surprised that these, I'm assuming Natalie and Jeremy probably stay close, but why not Yul and Parvati?
Well, because Yul and Parvati are completely different personalities. I can totally see them not overlapping with, like, they were on, they were in this life-changing experience together. Their first season.
And it bonds you. Like, I don't think that necessarily,
but after 13 years, will that bond last 13 years later where you're
look at Yul and look at Yul and Jonathan,
because their personalities click.
Right. Okay. And something else that so we looked at the Boston Rob in his first season. Now Parvati and Yul were constantly on opposite sides of the tribe, but Parvati was constantly connected to Jonathan Penner. And so if Penna and, I know that Candace and Penna kept in touch with one another. Maybe Parvati didn't keep in touch with Penna, and then Penna was the glue essentially between Yul and
I could see
Parvati. But I also don't know that Parvati necessarily kept in touch with anyone from her first season. And it wasn't until, she won her season that she started to like build a rapport with contestants.
Right. Yeah, it's very fascinating. I really like how Survivor is being very meta about all these connections that are going on, and is totally fine with talking about these pre-existing relationships and pre-existing ex-relationships.
Right. And the thing is, I remember early on, we were like, what's going to do Yul in? And my guess was, I'm like, well, if Parvati ends up on the same tribe as Yul, that could be his doing. But Yul's in a very good position right now that I don't know that her calling him out on anything, now knowing that she doesn't necessarily have anything to call him out on.
If Sele goes to tribal and if both of those girls survive, that would be amazing gameplay. If both of them survive.
Incredible. I just don't see how it works unless they convince Nick to give up his idol and do a Black Widow situation, because the only person that would work on is Nick.
Yep. So if we see it happen, I'm here for it. I love it. That
sucks because I love Parvati this season. This is the first season that I've actually been on the Parvati bandwagon.
She's been having fun. She's been having a good time.
Because usually she's in seasons where there's somebody else who I'm just rooting for more. Like Heroes versus Villains, I just was rooting for Sandra more. Fans versus Favorites, I was just voting Sari more. And those are two of my favorite players in the whole game of Survivor. So that's a hard act to follow.
And Michelle, you love Michelle too, so.
I know. So watching the two of them, I'm like, I would totally see Nick go. I would see Wendell go. I'm like, Yul, I don't know, just be friends with the girls for some reason. I don't know, make it work for you.
Yeah, just make it work because we want you around.
I honestly just hope that, I don't know which tribe I want to avoid tribal council next week. Part of me hopes it's the Sele tribe just because I don't want to see this structure break.
Oh, yeah, same.
But then at the same time, then are we going to see... Oh, you know what? The girls on the Decal tribes, they'll take care of themselves. They're fine. Not the Decal tribe, sorry. That's
Yara? Sarah Sophie? Are you talking about Sarah Sophie?
That's the Yara tribe.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, every time I hear Yara, I just think I'm a Drag Race fan. I've already mentioned it once this episode, but there's a queen called Yara Sofia. And she, it's spelled Yara, but it's like a Jara. So every time I say Yara, I want to say Jara, the Jara tribe. And she's just fabulous. I love her.
I gotta tell you what I think of every time. Speaking of Harry Potter, I think of Yara Wizard Harry.
What? Oh my God, that is such a stretch. Yara Wizard Harry.
Yara Wizard Harry.
I just want to have a meme of Jeremy with a wand in his hand talking about the Yara tribe saying Yara Wizard, George and Weezy.
Because George and Weezy. I was like, why Jeremy? Okay, I get it. George.
Yeah, because of George and Weezy. I think we should just call this the Drop Your Buffs RuPaul's Drag Race / Harry Potter episode. I think that's what's happening right now. We've kind of gone into a whole different universe.
It has been insane. And so let's kind of talk about this immunity challenge real quick, because I just want to bring up the puzzle at the end of the immunity challenge. We have
before you do that,
go for it.
Can I just mention that Sandra played this challenge? That's all I want to say.
Sandra was not on a bench this challenge.
Nope, she was
good for you, Sandra. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, go for it.
Well, I personally was a part of a tribal challenge where we had this 4 colored block puzzle at the end. The name of this puzzle is...
You were still in the game.
Djon had just been voted out. It hurts. It hurts.
And I was hoping you guys would lose. But
I don't know who voted him out.
I don't know who voted for me either.
The puzzle's called Instant Insanity, and that is true to its name because it is very difficult, as we saw the tribes doing it. Wow. I just, before we started recording, I looked up a YouTube video about a solution to this puzzle. I'm like, okay, I want to find out what the solution is. Heck no. I was like 5 minutes into this PBS video and I had no idea what was going on. And I'm a hashtag reading teacher, not a math teacher. So it was using math and I was like, this ain't gonna work. Not today.
I have a question for you though. So obviously each cube has 6 sides, but there's only going to be 4 sides that are exposed.
That are showing. Mm-hmm.
So are all 4 blocks colored differently? Or are they all colored the same?
Well, in a YouTube video I was watching, they were all colored differently.
Where each block has like one color that's got like
2.
Extra, well, there has to be 2 colors with extra.
Yeah. Yep. And so it's different extra ones. So I know that someone we know named Mike had posted a solution, like a PDF graphic that I need to track down to find. I think it's under our Facebook Live video, honestly, of that challenge.
Maybe.
So I'm going to go track that down to see what he posted, but the YouTube video did not help. And I actually want to go make my own instant insanity puzzle so I could try it at home.
You're like, I'm more confused than I was before I knew the challenge. So
Yep.
I mean, I can see that being a real thing. Oh my gosh. So just quickly, Wendy from Survivor, blue-haired Wendy.
Big Wendy, who let all the chickens out.
Right. Did you see recently she did an elimination video for Ethan Zahn, and she recreated an image of Ethan Zahn made out of Rubik's Cubes.
I saw her do that for Natalie.
Phenomenal. Okay, I didn't see Natalie's, but I saw Ethan Zahn's, and I was like watching this going, there must be some kind of computer program that she takes an image, converts it to this like pixel thing, and that allows her to like make all the, but she has to sit there and turn all of the Rubik's Cubes. There's easily hundreds of Rubik's Cubes, because I would say that the bottom row consisted of 20 Rubik's Cubes.
Oh,
so
my
this would be like 20 by 20, something like that. And then by the end of it, it's his face. And I'm like, this is phenomenal. So yes, there was probably like a grid created for her to do, but she has to sit there and go through every Rubik's Cube and make sure that this color is in this position. And it's just, if you haven't seen it, check it out. It's phenomenal. It sounds like she's got a whole series of them, and she's potentially doing them for every person as they get voted out. Incredible.
I would say like, man, she needs to find a hobby, but she found a hobby. That's quite the hobby.
And not only that, she has to be indoors anyway. So why not sit there and just kind of
because of coronavirus.
Because we're all quarantined. Yes.
We're all quarantined.
Right. So it's like, just sit there and do something incredible. And like Ethan Zahn shared it. So maybe if you're connected to him on Facebook or Twitter, you'll be able to.
Oh yeah. I want to share my drop your buff moment. And that happened during tribal council. My drop your buff moment is I was so banking on Sarah or Sophie playing one of their advantages, an idol or an advantage, because it just felt so risky. I didn't want them to waste it at all, but I also would understand if they didn't. My jaw dropped when neither of them did anything. I was like, they're really putting their trust in Ben and Adam right now, which was the right move. But, I still was amazed.
I'm going to join you on this drop your buff moment, because for me, like, I literally was shocked that not even one of them used their advantage. I was like, you're in a minority on a 5-person, like, at least feel the need to tie it. But I'm like, they've just mentioned, and I don't know if it was all smoke and mirrors in order to make sure that Rob didn't know what was happening. But like, it's a ballsy move by these 2 girls. We've seen the first 3 people voted out of this game were women. The next 3 voted out were men. We're back to even male-female split. And the women are the ones that are kind of dominating at this point. So I'm holding out hope that we can see another female win this. And every time we have a returning players season, the only time we've seen a returning players season
where male wins,
half, it was Cochrane, where at least half of the cast is returning. Jeremy did win, yes. Okay, because you saw Sandra for Heroes versus Villains. We saw Parvati for First Fans versus Favorites. We saw Amber for All Stars.
Cochrane, Jeremy, Sarah.
Yeah, and Sarah. So when it comes to returning contestant seasons, the women have a better chance at winning. But it's like, so is that going to happen again this season? based off of all of the advantages in the game right now and the fire tokens, the women are in a really freaking good place. But then again, Jeremy does have this like avoid tribal council. I don't remember if that was valid for more than 3 tribal councils, if it was just like until a certain point.
I think it didn't have an expiration.
Yeah. And as I mentioned in the last podcast, Nick is the only person from the original Decal tribe to have received any coins, fire tokens.
Wow.
And even now, with Parvati receiving 2 more, he is still the only person from the original red tribe that received a fire token. All of the other 5 tokens have gone over to the blue tribe.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I feel like we're going to see a shift in the power now go to the blue tribe.
I'm ready to see these fire tokens get played. Can we start like buying stuff?
But here's the thing, like, I guess they can use them at any point.
I know, but they're just holding out for whatever when they're going to need to buy stuff.
Well, I mean, Parvati can essentially buy herself an idol now, I guess. Is that on the menu for the people still in the game?
On the Edge of Extinction Island, that's how much three would cost you an idol. But I think
it would cost you 3 tokens to get an idol. Yes.
Yeah, we need to look up the original menu from the first episode because
That's true.
I don't remember.
And not Ron's menu. That's expired.
Where he tore off the bottom where it said that it expires. Oh, that was still a genius move. I love it. Okay, let's talk about next week on Survivor. The Wicked Witch is dead, and we could do whatever we want now, says Adam.
They're like celebrating. They're sitting there like waving their buffs around.
I didn't know.
I know. It looked like an episode from Amazon all over again. Like it looked like the girls were asking for peanut butter, but I'm pretty sure it was just them cleaning their buffs.
Once again, I am actually looking forward to Edge of Extinction. Sorry,
just to clarify, cleaning their buffs.
Buffs. I mean, they could be doing both. So I'm looking forward to Tyson being sneaky and hilarious. I know that you're not the biggest Tyson fan.
No, I'm all for it. I'm on the bandwagon now.
All right.
I'm like,
good.
Let's see this.
Okay, let's hypothesize real quick whether it's a challenge or whether it's actually just Tyson on his own will doing something sneaky and hilarious. That's his words.
I think
sneaky and hilarious.
What he's going to do is he's going to insist that when they're sleeping at night times that he has to sleep in between Amber and Rob. I think that is sneaky and hilarious. Like, I'm just going to wedge myself in here, right?
Yeah. I feel like
Can we also discuss that? Oh, no, continue that, and then I'll go.
I was just going to say, it looks like he was going up to where they climbed the rocks to go to the top, so maybe it has something to do with that. Okay, on to what you're saying.
Boston's like, are you coming back? Well, my whole thing is we're finally going to see Boston, Rob, and Amber canoodling again after what? 15 years since they played the game together and canoodled.
Oh yeah, we haven't seen that on our TV screen. So our friend Caitlin sent me some photos that have been released of next week's episode, and there are the most precious photos of Rob and Amber, like from Edge of Extinction. So you guys should go find those press photos, and they're adorable.
I'm all for the 2 of them being on the Edge of Extinction together, and I would love to see Amber come back into the game.
I know. Yeah, me too.
But have we contemplated the idea of more than one person coming back from the Edge?
I would love that. If at the man,
could it go down to 10 people and then have 2 people to come in to make it 12?
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking that at the merge, I would love if at the merge, instead of having one person come in at the merge and one person later, if they had 2 people come in at the merge. I would love that.
I do think just from Jeff's pre-videos, like he talked about how with the Edge, like if you name a season after a twist, you have to have it play out in the final episode. Ugh. And even though this season isn't like named the Edge of Extinction, it's still a twist that needs to kind of play out for the whole thing. Because then what? Do the rest of them just go to Ponderosa now when we still have the largest tribal council ever? I'm sorry, jury ever, because do they go home? Would all of them go home because they're I don't know. It's just an interesting kind of concept.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I feel like we've only just touched the surface of this episode. Like there is so
I know.
much to discuss.
It was a great
with the
episode.
it's so juicy, and I was giddy about it the whole time because you just see people forced to like. We didn't really get much of the Takal tribe except for Kim all of a sudden being this kind of like person in she. And here's the thing: I don't want to like give false impression that she is in a power position because I don't necessarily think that she's the one calling the shots. She's just deciding who to pair up with, who is calling the shots.
Right.
But I love the position that Denise is in because I don't think that she's vulnerable at all. And I do think that she's in a very good position to go far.
And she's your winner pick, right? Or
I would love to see her win. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we're just seeing such great stuff from her.
Okay. So my assumptions now in terms of like what's the word? Alliances. I'm like, oh my God, voting blocks?
What?
No. Alliances going
Trust
forward.
clusters.
I think that Sophie is probably in the best position in this whole game because if she is able to make it to the merge, she has Yul and the 3 boys who we can assume are still going to be in the game. She then has, if Sarah or her is still stay in the game, she essentially can reel in like Kim and Kim can reel in Denise. Denise and Sarah have a prior relationship before the game. That finds Sophie in the middle of 7
She just worked
people.
with Ben and Adam.
Right. So you can see her being in possibly the most powerful position out of anybody out there. So whether that works to her advantage or makes her a huge target is going to be a completely different thing. But in my mind, we could see 7 people, her getting together with Yul and the 2 boys, and then deciding to work with all the women and then take out the boys and make it a final 4 women because she'd have a better chance physically up against these women in challenges. Could you imagine a final 4 of Sarah, Sophie, Denise, and Kim? That would be epic because they're so all physically strong. They're all insanely intelligent mentally. I think I just found like a really exciting final 4 that somehow involves Kim, but I'm okay with it. That's like the only scenario that I'm okay with Kim kind of like staying in the game.
Gosh,
but
you
like,
have the most polarizing view.
I mean, I'm polarizing views with my own views.
Yeah.
It's like, but the thing is like, or do we see Sophie get to the end with 3 guys that have the potential of being like, well, we've already worked together without her. Let's just get rid of her. Like, I don't necessarily see her going to the final 4 with those boys and then you're keeping her on. This swap has definitely changed the game. And I honestly think for the better.
Yeah, I love it. It's so good. It's so good.
It's so good. All right. I'm excited. I'm pumped. I'm so excited. I'm pumped.
He's excited. He's pumped. And coronavirus can't bring us down.
It ain't gonna bring me down. No. Just we need to figure out if the finale can still happen.
Oh.
Could they
May 13th.
Could they postpone the finale?
Would they postpone the finale?
Well, what do you do if you can't get everybody together?
They have to do the vote read. They have to do it. So they might
do we get Jeff to read the votes from wherever he is and then do a delayed reunion?
Live from my dressing room.
I think that there's a lot of questions up in the air. I honestly really hope, for the sake of everybody in the world, not just for the sake of Survivor, I hope that we get some answers and we get some solutions very quickly that we can put into place and all be in our healthiest states. Not necessarily states of country, but states of being.
Of being. Mm-hmm. Oh man, yeah. This has been a whirlwind for both of us, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm just excited for what there is to come in all aspects of everything.
Of everything. All right. Well, that sounds like a great place to sign us off. Okay. Subscribe to us, follow us, and I'll put links to everything in the show notes as always.
Yes. And once again, it was wonderful podcasting with you again, Hannah.
Yes.
And I look forward to many, many more. and just seeing how the rest of the season plays out, because you and I, we do have those polarizing opinions. So
see who's right and who's wrong as the episodes go on. That kind of rhymed. We'll see who's right and wrong as the episodes go on. All right, Djon, I've got nothing for you. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Bye, everyone.
Everybody, drop your buffs.
Drop your buffs.
Everybody, drop your buffs.
Drop your buffs.
Everybody, drop your buffs.